Hi everyone, Rose Webster here. I just want to remind you that the Wolbachia-infected mosquito releases are ongoing right now. The Debug Fresno project is releasing 20 million mosquitoes a week throughout Fresno County. So I want you to be aware of that. Also, in Brazil, there's 1.6 million being released a week, and they wanted to step that up to 3 million, which I think they are now. So these things are ongoing. And this was put into place last year. It was around this time, October last year. Small numbers, of course, were already released in Rio and Medellin. And footing the bill, Bill and Melinda Gates, Wellcome Trust, the US and UK governments, and the Brazilian government chipped in an extra 3.7 million. So I want to draw your attention to that. Now, I'm sort of getting the same response as Dr. Ayers did when she warned the World Health Organization and the entire scientific community, February 2016, that colics were probably vectors as well of Zika, not just Aedes, even though that's all we're told is daytime active. Aedes aegypti, Aedes albopictus, and millions of pictures of these Aedes. Colics are like gray, brownish, bigger, hardier, they're in more places, but I don't see any images of them anywhere. Anyways, I just want to let you know that I've tried to reach out to a lot of these whale groups, and Patricia Sullivan, I became friends with her on Facebook. She works at the World Cetacean Alliance. Sorry, I'm not saying that right. And she wanted me to come to this conference in Halifax. That's, I guess, every 2 years, the 22nd Marine Mammalogy Conference from October 22nd to 27th in Halifax. Well, I told her I'm working on my Zika documentary and that, you know, I can't. And in fact, it was when these whales started to die I realized the Wolbachia-infected Aedes is much more urgent than I thought. And same with the Delay penguins. So she sent me this little conversation, which I found kind of interesting. She said, all I can say is you should be here. And I asked her, why is that all you can say? Just too much to describe. And she talked about people presenting their life work. And I should plan to go to the next one. Well, that's in 2 years. I don't think we have 2 years to wait. And she said, you'll have to put a proposal together and then it will be accepted or not. Well, I can tell you right now it's not going to be accepted. Because I've been warning the Dominic LeBlanc since 2016 and the NOAA way back early in April. But nobody wants to look into this, it seems. She said, I've asked many, many people this week if they are thinking about Wolbachia or even heard of it, but it's retrospect. I'm not really sure what that means. But I said, well, if they do put their life into their work, they would look beyond 2008 data, one would think. I'm not sure any credible scientist can ignore Wolbachia infecting the food chain for the last 5 to 7 years. And I'm feeling very odd about this response. Spoke about it last night, can't remember with whom, too much wine. They said that the whales are in a new area and there are double the crab pots this year. Didn't understand it, but something about not pulling them out early. Well, a couple times during this conversation she had said, I hope you're wrong, I hope you're wrong. Well, a lot of us are being told that hoping I'm wrong is not going to change anything. We have to test for this because they're still releasing these mosquitoes, these Wolbachia-infected mosquitoes. And now the West Coast, the whales there, they're going to be affected. I can almost guarantee it, and it's probably already happening. So this is disturbing. The U.S. group threatened Canadian snow crab imports over these whale deaths. So now I would think the pathologists are kicking themselves now for not testing for Wolbachia, because here we have the United States Fishermen Protection Act allows the White House to ban imports of fish or seafood from a country if the catch is affecting conservation efforts of an endangered species. And snow crab is Canada's second most valuable fish export. About 3/4 of Canada's snow crab exports goes to the United States. So we have the little guy and girl, I shouldn't say girl, but we have the little guys out there with the snow crab fisheries who are going to be impacted, people's incomes, because this is going on and people didn't test for Wolbachia when they should have. So I did write to Justin Trudeau and Dominic LeBlanc. I left them messages. I'll show you it here. The only solid conclusion that could be made from the pathologist reports is that 2 whales died from entanglements. And I was really upset with CBC for posting, examinations show most of the whales died after being hit by ships or getting entangled. That's false. And Canada itself has acknowledged 7 whales got tangled in snow crab lines this summer and 2 of them died. Well, Tanya Weimer at one point had said there's nothing on them, and she was referencing 6 whales. So these 4 or 5 whales that had severe internal bleeding, that could have been those infections. It's not necessarily blunt force trauma, but that's what they've been pushed into stating. And now we have a big conundrum here. Climate change, ocean acidification, sonar, pollution, raw sewage, nuclear waste, oil spills, those are contributory. But they do not explain the rapid extinction and breeding failures of Arctic terns, planktiferous fish, North Atlantic right whales, Adelie penguins, and now even human males. And I found out in China that now these fertility clinics are popping up everywhere because men are infertile, and I'm suspecting Wolbachia is at the root of that. Well, luckily this week I was kind of surprised. I found a letter. It was under a paywall, but I found snippets of it that I could use. Risks of Wolbachia mosquito control. So thank God there's 2 other people that agree with me. And here are some key points. Wolbachia strains, including the W. Mel-like strains, and those are the ones that are being used, are capable of transferring horizontally among distantly related arthropods in a short evolutionary time. Well, Wolbachia includes enhanced West Nile virus, which is very related to Zika, and same with malaria, actually. When naturally acquired, Culex that naturally acquired Wolbachia became better vectors of malaria. So this is very disturbing stuff. They stated, unlike the effects of Wolbachia, the consequences of pesticide use are well known and regulated. But the Cartagena Protocol, a United Nations safety regulation for the transfer, handling, and use of genetically modified organisms, signed by 170 countries, is not applicable to Wolbachia-infected mosquitoes because these bacteria are considered non-transgenic. Now, with the Ozotec trials and genetically modified foods and so on, these are kind of akin to proteins that are switched over, and they do not have the same power as Wolbachia, which is maternally inherited like mitochondria. And Wolbachia can evade the immune system. So Wolbachia, in my mind, is much more powerful than all these external things that you add to the environment. This is why this has to be looked at. Now, thank God, they concluded, the release of insects hosting Wolbachia strains should be more carefully considered, and further studies of the potential impact of these bacteria on biodiversity should be undertaken before the strategy can be widely used. Now, this was a March 18, 2016 letter I found in the AAAS. It's very hard to find anybody against Wolbachia because all the funding seems to be the same people funding these releases. So this is going to be very tricky. But we have to look at this. What I am sure of is, if I'm right, these vertebrates are going to have mass die-offs. It's going to just keep happening. So eventually some people are going to feel pretty silly they didn't heed the warning and start to test for this now. And I just want to remind anyone that the book Immunology, Inflammation, and Diseases of the Eye by E. Perlman and K. Gentile on page 91 states, Wolbachia is most numerous in the mammalian host compared with the insect stage, and elevated Wolbachia DNA and even intact Wolbachia are detected in the blood. Further along, it states, within 7 days in the mammalian host, bacteria numbers increase 600-fold. So yes, this can be added to serologic testing. We can test for this. So I leave you with this map. We have a minister of the environment who's actually a lawyer. In fact, a lot of these people are lawyers. David Miller and now his successor, is a lawyer, and it seems Dominic LeBlanc is a lawyer. I don't know why. Do any of these people have biology degrees? I don't think so. Bill Gates certainly doesn't. So I'm not sure what's going on here, but I do know that you got to start testing for this now, and we got to put a stop to these releases because these are still ongoing. Hoping I'm wrong isn't going to change that. So let's get to the bottom of this. Try to get someone else to sign if you can, and I'm going to keep going. Thanks for listening.